Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Before I proceed with my presentation, I'd like to respond to the honorable member who mentioned that during the tenure of office of Ms. Valda Lawrence that we had less COVID-19 cases. I'd like to remind you that number one, Ms. Valda Lawrence is not a medical doctor. She has no skills of epidemiological issues. She has none. And the only reason we are seeing more cases now, it is because after our Honorable Minister, Dr. Frank Anthony, took office, that the testing increased up to 300 persons per day. So we need to take note of that. Mr. Speaker, as I rise to grace this Honorable House in support of Budget 2020, I wish to extend best wishes to all the new honorable members of this assembly, and I trust that we all work in unity as we embark on this new journey of higher service to this nation. I take this opportunity to offer my sincere gratitude to the people of Guyana who entrusted their well-being and future by voting to return the PPPC government into office. A special thanks to all the stakeholders, both at home and in the diaspora, for your undying support in the fight for the restoration and preservation of democracy and ensuring that the will of the people was respected after the post-March 2nd, 2020 elections rigging attempt by our colleagues now sitting on the opposition side. Indeed, we have endured some perilous times for the past 5 months as we simultaneously fought against two viruses, the COVID-19 pandemic virus and the AFC rigging virus. In this light, I wish to remind my honorable colleagues on the other side that it is the people, and I repeat, it is the people of any democratic nation that has the right and the will to choose the government of the day. I do hope you learn from this experience that you've placed this country in for the past 5 months. In this nature, I wish to take us down memory lane of the horrific struggles and plight of the poor and ordinary people of this land. Since our honorable members on the opposition side are showing worsening signs of selective amnesia. As a geographic representative of region number 3, it is my civic duty to be the voice for my people and outline the chicanery that occurred for the past 5 years working at the West Damara Regional Hospital. And I can say serving under the fallen AFC government is equivalent to working in the front lines of a war zone. Myself and colleagues there can attest to this due to the challenging working conditions of not having basic medications such as captopril or metformin, just to name a few, for our chronic disease patients. Our expectant mothers in the OBGYN department have seen dark days, especially those high-risk patients with gestational diabetes and hypertension. As the absence of medications such as insulin and methyl-dopa were nil on many occasions, CTG machines, basic family planning methods such as IUDs, implants, oral contraceptives, among others, were difficult to access. Basic materials such as normal saline, gauze, intricats, just to name a few, were also found to be nil in our drug board many times. Our referral of emergency surgical cases increased tremendously due to a non-functional main operating theater, which is occupied by a faulty anesthesia machine that was never fixed nor replaced by a new one and only provided services for a mere 6 months for the past 5 years. Our X-ray and ultrasound departments have been through shaky times as well. These services were also abandoned by the previous administration. It is totally absurd and unfair to our people to have them reach into their pockets and pay for services that are already covered by their taxes. And also just to note, when these issues were raised on many occasions with those in authority, we were told to remain silent because our complaints would only make the government look bad. Well, you don't only look bad, you're on the opposition side and you'll be there for a very long time. Mr. Speaker, as one of the many ventures in giving the good life to the family and friends circle, contracts were awarded to a strong APNU AFC affiliate who supplied expired HIV rapid test kits to various health facilities in Region 3 and across Guyana. Mr. Speaker, imagine the risk that this poses on the health of our medical staff and patients of producing a possible misdiagnosis to the entire population. Mr. Speaker, as the world continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic, it will be ill of me not to give my gratitude to my fellow frontline workers in the health system for risking their lives on a daily basis to ensure that our people receive adequate medical attention and care. Mr. Speaker, for one to place a blind sight and deaf ear to our services in such a fragile and uncertain time is more than atrocious and disrespectful to our healthcare heroes. Imagine our frontline workers were promised waste allowances but never received a cent from the previous administration. Today, our budget has set aside $150 million to our frontline workers battling in the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only will our frontliners benefit from this budget, but every household across Guyana will receive $25,000 COVID relief cash grant. This is indeed clear evidence that our president has all Guyanese at heart and will continue to reach out in every area of our lives. In this light, I can assure you, like the Phoenix, our health sector will rise from the ashes and receive a total of $14.3 billion as we work to ensure that every Guyanese receive quality and efficient health care that we so truly deserve. Mr. Speaker, as a sister to school-age siblings, I have seen the great difficulty my widowed mom faced after having the 10,000 school cash grant snatched away by the APNU AFC government and replaced by the 5B's initiative implemented by Mr. Granger, which has proven to be a colossal failure and only seen as a political gimmick to benefit the suppliers of this venture. Mr. Speaker, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to force the temporary physical closure of our school doors, I can say with much pride that thanks to a PPC government, our children will not be left behind, but will be engaged in school activities via radio, television, newspapers, and other social media platforms. Also, come January 1st, 2020, our Because We Care cash grant will be reinstated and raised to $15,000 for a child. Additionally to this, the 2,000 uniform school voucher will be doubled to 4,000, which simply means our children will be benefiting from a total of $19,000 for their school supplies. This is what a visionary government does. Instead of taking away from our kids, we give back, and we do so in double portion. Full measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Mr. Speaker, as I continue to expose the incompetence of the former administration, I now place emphasis on the blatant neglect of our youths across the length and breadth of this country. And I wish to remind us that it was under the Barjagio administration, thousands of young people were given equal, and I repeat, equal opportunities to become doctors, nurses, agronomists, teachers, among other careers. They were given a chance to realize their dreams of serving the people of this country and excelling academically. Unfortunately, our honorable members on the opposition side cannot boast of such massive contribution of human resources to this country. Instead, many of our nurses and doctors have left our system due to the deterioration of working conditions and poor salaries and benefits that our health system has been plagued with for the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, I wish to highlight the lack of specialty doctors within our system due to very limited provision of little or no postgraduate programs within the last 5 years. And our Honorable Minister, Ms. Parag, mentioned that. Instead, the minute opportunities that were created was a secret and were given to individuals who are or were perceived to be sympathetic towards the APNU AFC government. In this light, I wish to remind you that in November of 2018, it was Ms. Valda Lawrence who proudly mentioned during a party conference at Congress Place, and I quote, "The only friends I got is PNC. So the only people I can give work to is PNC. And right now I'm looking for a doctor who can talk Spanish or Portuguese, and I want one that is PNC," end of quote. Mr. Speaker, this alone speaks volume of what the previous administration stood for. It was a family and friends take all affair, as we have seen in the shocking revelations of politically appointed members receiving luxurious salaries and benefits, and in some occasions persons were being paid for occupying frivolous posts, such as the famous petroleum petroleum advisor, petroleum jelly. While others were being paid for not even being physically present at work or in the country. Imagine the numerous young people that were desperate for jobs to help bring a meal to the tables of their struggling families, were disenfranchised of a basic right of employment, but yet an individual was receiving a salary fit for a king because he was the director of parks, and hence, imagine that, and hence, you were all directed to stay on the opposition side and park there and continue to be there for the next 50 years and over. Mr. Speaker, it is a hard pill to swallow knowing how our hard-earned taxpayers' money were embezzled in the most notorious manner by the former government. This only leads us to believe that the APNU AFC is an enemy of promoting higher learning and youth development and has no interest to see us excel academically or as a country. As we recall on the 2015 campaign trail, the then APNU AFC opposition promised jobs for youth and a good life for all Guyanese. Instead, when asked about the creation of jobs, Mr. Granger, then president, urged youths and unemployed persons to go and sell plantain chips for a living. What a sad and unfortunate situation for the youths of Guyana, to be sent to sell plantain chips and set aside their dreams and aspirations of becoming someone that can build our human resource workforce and make a contribution towards the development of our country. Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform my fellow Guyanese that gone are the days when our youth will be set aside and replaced by geriatrics, as we saw occurred in the previous administration. A PPC government has included young and vibrant persons on our side, and you just take a look. I'm sure you will agree with that. Young people who are filled with zest and vigor and are ever ready to serve our people in every area. Mr. Speaker, many of our young professionals, single mothers, and even the elderly do not have the privilege of owning a fixed place of abode. And I am sure our colleagues on the other side can agree with me that it is simply because not one housing project was done under their watch while in government. Today I can say with all confidence that our President, His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali, will continue his work in the housing sector by providing 50,000 house lots within the next 5 years to all Guyanese, irrespective of race, gender, or political affiliation. Our government has allocated $3 billion to begin works in land preparation for new housing scheme, land acquisition, and infrastructural development in existing schemes, among other entities. Mr. Speaker, I wish to recognize and commend the works and legacy of our senior citizens of this country for instilling the values and being the backbone of our families. It is indeed unfortunate that under the APNU AFC government, they were abandoned and left alone out in the cold to suffer after having their water and light subsidies snatched away from them. It is indeed tragic that a government who claims to care for all Guyanese will commit such injustice to our older folks. Mr. Speaker, I'm truly elated that this will no longer be tolerated under a PPC government. As come January 2021, our old age pension will be increased to $25,000, and also free water service will complement this increase.
Honorable Member, to continue with your elation, you will need to get an extension.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for the Honourable Member to have 5 more minutes to conclude her presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we celebrate Amerindian Heritage Month, I wish to congratulate 2 new members of the National Assembly, Mr. Lennox Schumann on his appointment as Deputy Speaker of this Honorable House, and Ms. Sarah Brown as Parliamentary Secretary. May you both serve well. Mr. Speaker, in this light, I wish to express my disappointment and disgust on the total neglect and disrespect to our nation's forest people. By the previous administration, after taking office in 2015, the APNU AFC government, in their quest to dismantle the plans and programs of the PPC government, took bread out of the mouths from over 20,000 young Amerindian youths within our hinterland region. Imagine that, you're taking bread out of people's mouths. Today I can say I am beaming with pride because help is here, and the PPC government will resuscitate our hinterland communities by allocating $800 million for the Amerindian Development Fund, which will see the reintroduction of the CSO's program to aid in the development of strengthening their individual interests and creating job opportunities for over 2,000 youths. $300 million will be allocated to the ADF for investment for the investments in productive assets, including tractors, trailers, and agricultural tools. The implementation of a program that will see 25,000 solar panel units being distributed to our hinterland regions. Mr. Speaker, this is what a PPC government stands for. We ensure that no one is left behind and that every Guyanese get a piece of the pie. We do not take away, we give back. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank His Excellency, Dr. Irfan Ali, our Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Phillips, Vice President, Mr. Jagdeo, and our Honorable Minister of Public Works, Mr. Gwan Edgehill, for listening to the cries of all Guyanese and answering with a budget that not only is pro-poor people, but a budget with a plan of restoration and deliverance from antediluvian and poverty-stricken state to a prosperous and pro-humanitarian and economically developed nation. Mr. Speaker, I therefore urge my colleagues on the opposition side to do some soul searching. Come down from your high horses. It is time to snap out of that utopia you have been trapped in for the past 5 years. Allow the scales to fall off your eyes and take a good look at our plan for prosperity. Then maybe, just maybe, you will learn how to take a different path from your corpus nature and grasp the basic principles that requires good leadership and good governance in service to a nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.